All right, good evening, everybody. I have 5 o'clock, so I'd like to call the meeting to order, please. Sean Callan. Here. Julie Chetney. Here. Tom Chiappa.
Here.
Dave Crisafulli.
Here.
Jim McKenzie's here. Kristen Norfleet.
Here.
And Sean Onbach.
Here.
Okay, so we can please rise for the pledge. Pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so there's nobody who signed up this evening for the floor to the public. So our next thing on the agenda are our acknowledgements. Julie.
Okay, there's quite a few, which is good. All right. First up, we have the Oswego High School Marching Band. They recently hosted a spaghetti dinner with performances from the Jazz Band A and the Jazz Band B. Gracious donations were made by Maida's, Canales, Hutamaki, Seas Farm Market, Big M, Mitchell's, Speedway Press. So it sounds like it was a great dinner and a lot of great community support. And entertainment, of course. Oswego High School hosted their winter semi-formal. It was held on the 3rd of February and hosted by the Oswego High School class of 2024. It was a great turnout and sounds like the kids had a great time. Can you confirm, Michael?
It was really fun. A lot of people. So
Good,
yeah.
good. The Oswego High School recognized their December Buck of the Month. The Buck of the Month awards will recognize one student from each grade level and 2 staff for good citizenship who go above and beyond to make OHS a great place. The December winners were Reagan Wood, Miles Bandela, Peyton Bond, and Noah Wilder. Congratulations to those students. The middle school has been, I gotta fix this, I can't read, is that? Oh, okay, I'll read up here. The middle school has been learning about plant and animal cells, where they are constructed with their own, they constructed their own out of construction paper and various items. Teacher Devin Hutchinson from special education helped some of our students here. The middle school also had a fun in social studies classes. They've been studying World War I. After learning about the trench warfare and the Western Front, students created their own trench dioramas out of boxes and other craft supplies. Layton Elementary recently had a dental hygienist visit them in their kindergarten classes to talk about dental health. They also had their family engagement night where guests gathering to read with goldfish. It's a mouthful. Families came together to read with their students, and their students partnered up to read with their peers and had a goldfish snack. Always love to see families coming into the school. FITU also hosted their beginner band concert. So congratulations to all those students that are starting off in their band career. They also hosted at FITU their January Leader in Me Family Night. And Riley School had round 2 of their spelling bee, having 4 students who made it to this round. Their Battle of the Books is approaching. Their grade level 3 and 4 students their event is on the 14th, which is tomorrow, and they have 14 students participating in that battle, as their grades 5 is on the 15th with 9 students. So we're looking forward to see some of the winners of all the schools and their Battle of the Books teams and the district event, which I'm not sure when that is, but I'll be looking forward to seeing that. Their 3rd grade is preparing for their next community gathering assembly, depicting their version of the theme, Riley is a Family. You want me to read first? Okay. Also at Riley, the Student Council films their morning announcements 5 days a week now. They are shown on the big screen to all the classes after the Pledge of Allegiance. And the question of the day from the principal is also included. The students are even learning how to edit their videos as well. Pretty cool. So I think we're going to see a little bit of that right now.
Good morning, CER Buccaneers. Today is January 30th and is a day 1 for special.
On the menu for lunch today is a chicken quesadilla with corn. The weather forecast for today is a sunny of precipitation. Do you know today is National Croissant Day? Enjoy a tasty French treat. We would like to wish a happy birthday to Grace and Julio. We would like to remind you that our animal shelter fundraiser ends tomorrow.
Now back to the segment for the announcement contest question.
Good morning. Today's question of the day is, name something associated with a camel. 5 points to be earned today. Good luck. 5 things associated with a camel.
Very, very cool, very cool. Great job, Riley School. Minetto School wanted to let everyone know that the yearbook club is underway, supervised by Mrs. Scaglione. Minetto students are working together to create this year's yearbook. They're learning how to create pages and plan the layouts and highlight a year's worth of events and happening at their school. Minetto has also would like us to feature their Nature and Garden Club, supervised by Mrs. Sharkey. Minetto 5th and 6th grade students meet twice a week. The goal of the club is to learn more about plants and nature while exploring how each of us impacts the world around us. They will engage in the bean experiment, take care of our plants, and help keep our school grounds beautiful. Lastly, Kingsford Park would like to have a special staff recognition to the custodial staff. We have Marshall, Yolanda, and Josh. The building construction project has had many classroom moves and has posed quite a challenge, and they have risen to the occasion. And I know that they have many, many accolades from everyone in the building, not to mention with all the concerts, events going on in the community use of the facilities, adding to the regular cleaning duties. Without their help, these events and day-to-day operations just couldn't happen. So thanks to these folks over at Kingsford. That's it, I think.
Just so people know, too, the dental hygienist that was seen going into the different Layton classrooms, that's actually the dental hygienist that will be working in Layton in the Connects Care facility. And one of the things that's really important for them is the education piece. Because there may be some of our, especially our younger elementary students, who may not have visited a dental hygienist in the past. And so it's really about educating them on good dental health, but also tearing down any concerns or questions about going to a dental hygienist, and to not be afraid of that. So it's really a wonderful piece that, again, being focused at Layton right now, but as we start to unfold the healthcare center here within the district and expand it to the entire district, there'll be opportunities for that across the district. So that's really exciting. And then one big shout out to the cast of Guys and Dolls this past weekend. It was a magnificent show. They actually let me participate on Friday night. I had 2 lines and I didn't screw them up. They even asked if I wanted cue cards, and I was insulted and said no. I've been spending a week memorizing my 2 lines. But it was wonderful, and they really are such incredibly talented young men and women, just an incredible cast, so kudos to them.
All right, thank you very much. We're to the superintendent's report.
Oh, good. I'm going to move over here. So when I first came on board, we talked about the process, and there was a couple of things that I wanted to make sure that we did that were important to me in this process. And so over the next few meetings, we are going to be in public session presenting and talking about the budget. This first presentation is relatively high level, really trying to get at the philosophy behind the budget making process. To ensure that you feel like I have captured what you feel as a Board of Education should be our kind of overarching priorities and guidelines as we're approaching the budget process. And then as we start working through this, we'll get into much more specifics, especially into the numbers of that. And so Ms. Clucci and I are going to spend a little bit of time just talking through a couple of things with you. We'll take questions at the end if you have any, but again, like I said, this is kind of a higher level view. So first off, our budget development priorities. And I think you've heard me from the very beginning, in every decision that we make here in the Oswego City School District is student-centered. If it's not student first, we don't do it. Everything that we do is student-centered. And so within that, there are some key pieces that have really resonated with me in my conversations with you, the community, students, and staff. And so our budget priority should be in developing a safe and secure school environment and facilities, implementation of rigorous, equitable, authentic curriculum, instruction, assessments, and resources that maintain excellence in the classroom while supporting for a responsive and relevant offerings to all of our students, and that's pre-K through 12. Providing experience both curricular and extracurricular, that the support is varied in the interests and abilities of our full community. So again, it's reaching all students. Increased accessibility and appropriate staffing, again, is essential. If it's students first, we need staff to support students. To support district social emotional learning and mental health supports as well. This district, like every district across the nation, needs to be prioritizing mental health, emotional learning and support. And so that absolutely is a priority that I've heard as well. And of course, supporting the diverse academic needs of our community. So our budget guidelines, and again, these might shift every year. We should talk about them as a board each year when we're approaching the building of the budget. And so we want to balance a budget that balances the investment in the education with the sensitivity to limited community resources and balancing community expectation for services and programs with the need to be cognizant of changes in property values, income levels, new state and federal tax law, and of course, other economic uncertainties that we have to deal with every single day. 2, engaging in a thoughtful long-range fiscal planning. I talked to you about that's really something that we need to engage more in, both this year and in future years, because that helps us year to year. Working collaboratively with local partners and districts to share services. I heard from the Board of Education loud and clear from the moment I walked into this district that collaboration, shared services was something that was important. It would bring the community together, but more importantly, it was also fiscally responsible. And so that should be a guiding piece. Sustaining our reserve funding to meet our long-range priorities, but also to mitigate any potential revenue loss. Every year, we hear about a fiscal cliff, right? So much of our funding, and we'll get to revenue in a second, is predicated not on necessarily the tax base locally, but from state aid. And we don't have control over that. And so we don't know what is to come. And so we need to be planning for disruptions in what that aid might look like. And so that's where our reserve funding comes into play. Again, planning for the cessation of federal funds. As you know, there was a lot of federal funds that were coming into districts specific to COVID. Those are all ending. And there are programs that were funded by some of those grants. And we have to make sure that we're addressing those both for next year and moving forward. Continue to look for innovative sources of revenue. There are grants being offered every year, both at the state level and federal level. In our partnerships, looking for grants, for instance, our SROs with the Oswego City Police Department. Chief Katie has been looking for and waiting for a grant to open up. So, even in our partnerships, we're looking for those opportunities to help and support the district financially as well. Recruiting, hiring, and retaining diverse employees of the highest caliber. This is essential. It's part of the budget, but it really needs to be a part of our focus. There truly is a teacher shortage. It is becoming harder and harder to recruit good quality teachers and then, of course, to retain our teachers. And so that's an essential part of our work. And then, of course, seeking cost efficiencies to further mitigate the burdensome and financial impact of underfunded or unfunded mandates that seem to come across our plate every single year. So for those of you that are new, in New York State, we are required to present our budget in a 3-part budget. And that's there to kind of help both taxpayers, board members to kind of compare. And so the 3 parts are administrative, kind of program or instructional, and capital. And so when we talk about the budget, we'll actually kind of break them up into those silos. So the administrative part of the budget is all oversight and supervision. It doesn't mean it's administrators, because there could be administrators actually in the instructional line as well. So that term in and of itself isn't necessarily the perfect definition. But again, it's all oversight and supervision, not related to services providing directly to students as covered in the other 2 components. And we'll talk a little bit more about what's in that so you can see what's in that. And typically what we're looking for in that 3-part budget is we want about 10%. And that's where the district has been. So 10% of the overall budget or a little less. That's pretty typical. There are districts in the county that are 11, 12, 13%, but there are reasons ultimately behind that. But from the history of Oswego City, we've been very close to approximately that 10% of the overall budget. Program instruction, that should be the largest part, and your focus should be about 75%, and that's right where the district was in the 23-24 budget. And that includes really the bulk of that program: instruction, special education, occupational education, curriculum, staff development, summer school, pupil services, health, guidance, so counseling services, library, co-curricular, athletics, and transportation. So again, that encompasses the majority, but it's really that student-centered, student-touching component. And then capital. And they're anywhere between 15 to 20%. That amendment that was ultimately passed or approved by voters this year kind of opens up the possibility of city school districts and how we approach this. And so that's something that we might talk about moving forward in the future. But again, capital, all costs directly associated with the operation and maintenance of our facilities, okay? So our revenues, there's not a lot of different areas that we're looking for revenue, right? So for the most part, state aid is the largest component. Then we have our tax levy, and that's our local community's share. And then there's the other sources. And other sources are things like pilot agreements, grant funding. Depending on the jurisdiction, there could be county sales tax. So there's a number of other things that fit within there. But again, out of these, know that we only have control of one, and that's tax levy. We have no control over the other 2. And so that's an important factor for us to consider as well. So right now, what are we hearing and what do we know? So state aid is in flux. Last year, I'm sure that many of you heard that we went to a fully funded foundation aid, and we celebrated that. And Pete's going to talk a little bit about the history of foundation aid and its funding and its impact on the Oswego City School District. Every year, the governor issues an executive budget, and she did so just a couple of weeks ago. In that run, and again, these are estimates, it was actually a step back from fully funding a foundation aid. So it wasn't as dramatic of an impact on the Oswego City School District as it might be on some others. If they were fully funding, and Pete, please check my math, it's about a $500,000 difference. So what we expected was about $500,000 more than what's in the executive budget. Again, there's always a change between executive budget and then what is ultimately passed when the legislative runs come through. And so we do expect there to be additional conversation about that. But again, just something to be aware of. Inflation rates, while they are not as high as they were in previous years, we are still seeing 3%. And that's an important piece for us. And Pete will actually show you a little bit more about that. We are going to be negotiating pilot agreements coming up very, very soon. And that's a pretty big chunk of revenue that supports our district programming. And so that's a really important piece in this. Most recent building condition survey that we have to be thinking about that came out last year cited and summarized over $200 million worth of capital improvements. And that's not abnormal. So I don't want you to panic when you see that number. We should always be looking at that. But we need to be being very thoughtful about our facilities projects, what's going to be coming up next, what referendums might we put forward to the voters in the coming years to continue to improve the physical environment for our students and our community. Again, the continued need for social and emotional supports for our students, including the possibility of additional mental health services. Electric buses are a big topic of conversation. There is a current mandate that by 2035 we are completely zero emission. Assemblyman Barclay actually made an announcement today, or maybe it was yesterday, asking for a pause on that mandate. I do expect there to be some change as a result, because this really is such a significant project that is really impacting districts across the state, both NISBA and NISCUS. There's lots of people asking the state to just give us more information and or more time. It's an important project. We should be moving to look for efficiencies in this area, but there are a lot of unanswered questions that we're still working through. And we'll probably be coming to you within the next couple of months to talk more about electric buses and zero-emission buses, because Tom Gunn, our Director of Transportation, has done a lot of work in the background, doing research about what is the current status of this district, what are the things that we need to be thoughtful about, because there's some grant opportunities out there as well for us to take a look at. But we want to make sure the board fully understands every aspect of that picture before we take any steps moving forward. But again, something for us to be thinking in the short term and long term. So some factors that impact our budget: increasing costs associating with those state and federal mandates. And again, we're being asked to do more every day and not being given additional funding to meet those demands. Of course, changes in state and federal aid. Of course, the economic trends that are impacting our community and the local tax base. That absolutely is a factor for us to be thoughtful about. Our contractual obligations, those are a big part of our budget, and we have to be thoughtful about that. Enrollment data changes in our enrollment. I mean, if you look at enrollment within the district over the last 10 years, you've seen a significant change. And we're continuing to see that trend, but we see that across the nation as well, but something for us to be thoughtful about. And then, of course, the calculation of the district's tax levy limit, and we'll talk a little bit more about that as well. And this is where I'm going to shift over to Mr. Clucci to talk to you a little bit about some of the numbers.
Thank you very much. The first thing we're going to look at is the historical data with regards to foundation aid. In the mid to late 2000s, the state put together a formula, and it was driven by the fact that the state should be funding school districts for every student that attends at the same level across the board. So when they developed that formula, it was big chunks of aid that were provided to the school district based on the students that were in the district and what they were going to need to have their program. You can see that from 2007, 2008, the original amount of foundation aid that the district received was $10,295,496. As the formula progressed, okay, over time, you can see that we're fortunate that this year for the 2024-25 coming budget, we're projected to get $39,769,801 from the state, which is great. It's a big lift, and it's a large chunk of money over time. If you were to look at the historical data with regards to our payments and what the formula said we should have received over that period of time, it might look a little bit different. Where do I point this thing? There we go. If you look at foundation aid versus the formula, the bottom line that we have there is the actual aid that we received over time, okay? And if you look at the trend on the top, that is the aid that the formula said our students were supposed to receive. So if you look at this chart from 2007, 2008 to the end of this year, the district did not get $214,282,598 worth of aid that the formula said we were supposed to get. But the district still dealt with it, okay? Worked hard and took care of our kids. But that's a big chunk of money, okay? The next thing we want to do is we want to look at our budget, and we want to look at the comparison of our budget over time against our tax levy over time. So if you are to look at this particular screen, you can see going back to 2009-10 and coming up to present day 2023-24 that the shorter bar is the amount of our levy and the taller bar is the amount of our budget. Our budget is increased from $68,809,000 to $103,332,000 over that period of time. And the red line at the top kind of shows you the trend. If you were to look at the smaller bar, which is our levy, you can see that in 2009-10, our levy was $28,668,000. And this year, okay, it's $27,027,000. Aside from some blips, you see those big years there where there's a bounce in the tax levy? Those were the years when the nukes came off the pilot and got put back into our, our assessed values, okay? And there were pops in the levy amount to deal with that. But you can see over time that there has been a systematic drop in our actual levy over time since 2009, 2010. What does that say? It says that the district has taken into account the financial status and abilities of our community to keep the levy as low as they possibly could and still maintain a great school district and a great program. Okay? If you were to look at our tax levy versus the budget in a different way, in bars, this is the same graph, just in a line, and you can see that our trend line with regards to the increases in growth of our overall budget and the trend line with regards to our actual levy are the same, okay? However, our levy has remained stable to very small increases over the same period of time. When we talk about the levy, you've heard about the tax cap, you've heard about the 2% tax cap, which isn't really necessarily 2%. But this slide will show you the controller's formula on how you divine or how you determine what the highest level of levy the board and the district can present, okay, for just a simple majority of 51%. The board can always present a levy with an amount higher than that, okay? However, you need a supermajority to pass that budget with a over 60% of the voting public approving, okay? So if we were to take this formula and put it in actual numbers and plug the numbers in along the way in this equation, if you go to the next page, you can see what our calculated 24-25 tax cap or levy limit is, and it's $27,883,000 and $27,883,685, or an increase of $856,346 with a levy increase of 3.17%. That's a bird's eye view of what we got. You know, Dr. Kilmer and I invite questions. Got to hit the next.
Pete wanted to actually take you through and make you do the math of the property tax cap and actually apply numbers to the formula. I said that was a little cruel and unusual, so we did it for you. Because, I mean, as you can see, that's a pretty complicated formula. I don't care if you've done calculus or not, right, Michael? That doesn't look easy. That's a little on the confusing side. But if you want more data behind that, Pete would be happy to kind of walk you through that process. But it is complicated, and oftentimes we're reaching out to our advisors, fiscal advisors, to kind of help us in that process to ensure that we're calculating that number correctly. So a couple of things. So just the big components on our timeline that we just have to be mindful of. So on March 5th and March 19th, our next two board meetings, we will again do presentations specific to the budget. On the March 5th, we'll probably focus on capital administration part of the budget, and then the 19th really on the program side of the budget. On April 2nd, we will come and kind of present the fullness of the budget, again, looking for that feedback along the way, because on April 16th, the Board of Education needs to adopt the budget. Okay, we need to vote and adopt the 24-25 budget on the 16th. On May 7th will be our official public hearing on the budget. And then between May 7th and the 21st, we'll have lots of kind of community sessions reaching out to HSAs, going to staff meetings, but again, trying to get ourselves out there to communicate to the public what's in the budget. And then on the 21st, is our budget vote. Okay? Any questions from the board? I know this is high-level things for now, but I'm sure there'll be more questions the more we get into it.
I just wanted to ask and make sure that when we get into it and we talk to the pilot and the revenue component, that we also relate that to the tax cap component relative to our percentage of the pilot. I know it's something that I'm saying it now just so it gets repeated. It's the idea of that our levy is a direct correlation to our amount we receive of our pilot as well.
Yep.
So we have to keep that in mind. I know it's a little hard to understand sometimes when we're just trying to put it out there. Make sure we explain it well once we get to that.
No, definitely.
Great.
Others? Okay.
So I don't have a question, but I just have one observation. Thank you, by the way. This is very good. This is a good beginning of the overview. Excuse me. I find it remarkable that if we are proposing a possible 3.17% increase in our tax levy, that $27.8 million, you showed us 15 years' worth of data, Mr. Colucci. That number, that 3% increase, would still make our tax levy less than 9 of the 15 years that you showed us, and less than the 2009-2010 year. With inflation as it goes, that's remarkable to me. Just an observation. All right, wonderful. We're on to committee discussion reports. Do any committees have something for this evening? Sean?
Yeah, just to report the facilities committee, we started repeating our meetings, getting together. I mentioned in our last meeting that we were meeting as the overall school district committee for facilities, but we've broken that down to talk about, the needs just in our board committee group. And we're focusing on Phase 4, what that's going to look like, what we can achieve, and come up with a list with the architects and Ray, and where we're going to head with the rest of the capital projects. So it was a good, constructive meeting, and I'm happy to report that we have a schedule now to meet frequently, so we're on track.
Great. Thank you very much, Sean. All right, we're on to our consent agenda. So if I can have a motion for the consent agenda items A through H, please. Thank you, Kristen. Is there
I'll
a
second.
Thank you, Tom. Is there any discussion on agenda items A through H? Having heard none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Is there anybody opposed? Thank you, motion carries. All right, we're to personnel with Mr. Syracuse.
Good evening, everyone. Our first two items in the personnel agenda are retirement, so I'd like to just pull and recognize the people that will be retiring. Our first is Joseph Hoopert, who is a science teacher at the high school, and he's been working in the districts starting on September 1st, 1992, and his retirement date is on May 1st this coming spring. So congratulations to Joe. We wish him well. Our next group of retirements come from our support staff recommendations. We have Lori Myers, who's a school bus driver. She's been working in the district since November 20th, 1996, and her retirement date is April 29th, 2024. Congratulations to Lori. Cindy McCullough, school bus attendant. She started in the district on May 8th, 2019, and her retirement date is April 18th, 2024. Congratulations to Cindy. And our last one is Mary Pratt, who's also a school bus attendant. She began in the district on May 8th, 2019, and her retirement date is April 24th, 2024. So congratulations to Mary.
Great, thank you. So can I have a motion for A and B as presented, please?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Tom. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Sean. Any discussion? Wonderful. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, our next grouping is items C through Q as presented.
Okay, so can I have a motion for C through Q, please?
I'll move it.
Thank you, David. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Tom. Any discussion for A through Q?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask a question, just to revisit. Are we still doing or offering up the exit interview to, I'm not talking about people retiring, obviously, but people who are resigning from positions within the district, so that we're kind of possibly identifying areas of improvement or areas that we're doing well?
The answer is yes, and matter of fact, I had one shortly before
Okay,
I came to the
great.
meeting this evening. So yes, we are.
Great, great.
We're offering them to anybody that is leaving, including
Perfect.
retirees, just to get some
Okay,
feedback.
yeah, perfect.
So,
I
yep.
just think that's really valuable feedback for our district.
Yes.
So appreciate it.
Wonderful, thank you. Any other comments or questions? Having heard none? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Is there anybody opposed? All right, wonderful, motion carries. All right, we're to finance. Hey, Mr. Calucci.
Thank you. Under finance, we present items A through C to the board for approval.
Okay, so we have items A through C. Is there a motion, please? Thank you, Kristen. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, David. Any discussion? Okay, having heard none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, motion carries.
Under finance again, we present item D to the board for approval.
Okay,
I'll read it. Resolution to waive the apprenticeship program for the school-based healthcare project at Frederick Layton Elementary School.
okay, thank you. Is there a motion for D, please?
I'll move.
Thank you, Kristen. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, David. Any discussion?
just for the group. Again, I do want to focus in on, this is a waiver specific to this small project only. So again, it's very targeted. Oswego City School District has a resolution that the board, I believe it was in 2009, authorized that really required an apprenticeship program to be a part of any contractor we worked with for our capital improvement projects. And there's a great deal of history behind that decision. And so I just want to focus everyone that this is a very targeted resolution and only for this project. And you know, if the board would like, we should have a greater conversation to understand the history behind why the board chose to put this resolution into effect in 2009. But again, I just wanted to highlight that, again, this is only for this one project to help get this project completed, hopefully this summer.
Thank you. Are there any questions or any other discussion from the board?
Yeah, if I could just say, I think that this is really important for us. The apprenticeship program limits who can bid on a project, and as a result, it sort of minimizes competitive bidding. We have a really tight budget on this particular project, and we want to be as competitive as possible and fiscally responsible. And this is a way that we can bring what is truly going to be an amazing opportunity for our students, and as quickly as possible, and still being mindful of our fiduciary responsibility.
Great. Thank you, Kristen. Any other thoughts? Okay, having heard none?
One more thing, just real quick. I did have the opportunity to meet with a couple of leaders from our local trades unions. And I will say, I want to make sure I honor them in saying that they are absolutely committed to the district and don't want to put any restrictions on the district. And so I thought it was a really open and honest conversation. But I did at least want to highlight that. Thanks.
Great. Thank you very much. Any other thoughts or questions? Okay. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Is there anybody opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you very much. All right, we are to student representative, Michael.
Thank you. So just to reiterate, the musical Guys and Dolls was hugely successful. I know all 3 shows were very well attended, so that's very good to hear. The Principal's Cabinet at OHS is organizing a Kindness Day on April 5th. That's a half day, and we're planning it with activities to promote community building throughout the school. Getting back from winter break, we're going to start the Smart Pass system. So we've been talking about this for a while, and we had passbooks to start the year, but now we're going to fully transition into this new software. I'd like to congratulate the girls' hockey team on getting to the sectional finals. They lost a very tough game to, I think, what's the #1 team in the state. So, but they played very well, and we're very proud of them. And the last thing is that tomorrow, City is having a top 3 recognition ceremony, and I know there are a lot of students from OHS who are getting recognized. So just want to honor their efforts.
Great. Thank you very much, Michael. Any items from board members for this evening? Tom?
Yeah, Sean and I last night attended to get our acronyms in order. We went to the FPS HSA, and we had a great time. It was we were invited formally by Laura O'Neill and Jill Anzalone, and we appreciate that. But it gave us a chance to get close to the ground and see things from their perspective, and to see what projects are going on, how they relate to the district, and any ideas that we had and they had. It was a great collaborative conversation. The one thing I was going to say, some of the unique things they're doing to try to get better engagement with families in the community. They're offering a movie night. They're going to be moving towards movie nights in their AV room. And so they're working hard to do that, working hard on their fundraising. And then we saw an opportunity, Sean, as well, relative to the yearbooks. Do you want to reference that or no? Potential.
Yeah. So I think we saw earlier today that Minetto School is starting to work on their yearbooks and getting their pictures taken and things like this. So we just mentioned to Jill and Laura that maybe collectively the 5 schools could work together not only to help with costs associated with the pictures and the development of their individual yearbooks, maybe to bring some of those costs down so that that specific school can make a little bit more profit on it. And also, maybe his ears were ringing, but we talked about Mr. Bach, and so maybe a really cool opportunity for them to consider. But he has his yearbook students, and how cool would it be for the high school students to go back down into the elementary schools and see what they're doing with their yearbook development? And just think that would be a great way to connect, you know, the high school students all the way down to the elementary level. But, you know, Tom and I sat there and really appreciate Jill and Laura and the group that was there, because the work and the time that they put in to the HSA, and it's really so naturally just for the students. Like everything else is removed, and it's just to try to give a better experience to all the kids K through 6. So we're going to continue to show up and be part of the conversations, and we'll help them any way we can. So it's great.
Yeah, the one other thing I wanted to say too, they couldn't have been more complimentary about the staff from FBS and what what they were doing above and beyond to help the kids. So it was great.
Great, wonderful.
I just wanted to quickly say a thank you to the boosters for partnering with the district on a spectator bus and tickets for the students who went to the girls' hockey game. I think this is the second time this academic year that we have offered a spectator bus opportunity to bring our students to support their fellow students. And I think it's a great move in the right direction that our district is embracing these opportunities and doing what we can to facilitate getting our students there. And then this took it one step further by the boosters helping fund the tickets. So I just wanted to say a thank you for that.
I will say at the game, there were a number of young men who were shirtless with Go Bucks on their chest. I was invited, but I thought it would be inappropriate. But there's a lot of great, it's a great school spirit to see. So when you see that number of students to make the trip down to it was actually the reservation arena, which is a beautiful facility to hold a contest like that. But it was really nice to see so many, not only students, but just community members as well. I really felt as though we won in the spectator side of things at that event.
Wonderful.
And the other thing, correct me, Thursday night at Crisafulli, the boys, are we defending the fort? Correct. Just want to make sure that's out to the public as well as part of the sectionals. That game is local. You don't have to take a bus. So if you're out there in the community, come to see it on Thursday evening.
Wonderful. Any other items from board members? Okay. Next on the agenda is executive session. There is a need for purposes to discuss personnel and negotiations. So if I could please have a motion to move to executive.
I'll move it.
Thank you, Sean. Is there a second? Thank you, Kristen. All those in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
No reason for a vote after, right?
Yes, thank you, David. There's no reason for a vote after. All right. Have a good evening.